My name is Ntombenhle Mkhize, and I serve as the Chief Executive Officer for the AIDS Foundation of South Africa, based in Durban. But in terms of our footprint, we are operating nationally, largely HIV and AIDS public health programs.
Amazing. It's so great to have you today. Good morning, Ntombenhle.
Thank you, Noctilla.
I hope you're well.
I am. It's just everything else that's happening, trying to manage schedules, with the power outages, but what we're trying to do, our best. I think COVID has given us, strategies to work around such situations. So it's really also just putting some of those into use, yeah.
Absolutely. So just to start off with our conversation, I know AIDS Foundation South Africa recently partnered with the SANEC Department of Education and the Department of Social Development to launch a program, a food relief program. Can you please tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. So this cause came as a result that happened in KZN. So as the South African National AIDS Council in AIDS Foundation, we were looking at what role we could play to be able to support some of the communities that we work with. So we knocked on a few doors of some of our donors, and fortunately one of our funders, Global Fund, they were willing to provide support in terms of launching this program. And what we really wanted to do, because the resources were limited, we were targeting children that are in school from primary to high schools, particularly the support that we were providing. It was school uniforms, because we saw, I think, a lot of cases where houses were washed away, people were literally only left with what they were wearing. So just making sure that the basics, so that they're not able to, so that they don't miss out on school as well. So we provided uniforms. We provided stationery, so backpacks and stationery as well. But also we provided dignity packs for the young girls and boys that we're working with, because again, it's really about ensuring that you bring back that dignity. So also they show up in school, but they have washed, they're clean. And so it was really just being able to provide those basics so that, despite everything that they've had to encounter, with the flooding, whether it's loss of family, loss of their homes, but we wanted to ensure that, there is a component where we are able to support them. And as I said, fortunately, our partners in Global Fund came through, and through that, then we were able to provide that support to the different schools. I think it's about a total of 69 schools, if I'm not mistaken. So the rollout is currently underway. What you saw, was the launch, but we will be, distributing in other schools. And I think what's also quite great about this program is that in terms of the distribution itself, we are working with the co-ops that were referred to us by the Department of Social Development. So this is an opportunity for, the small entrepreneurs in the community to be able to benefit from this program. So I think it's really quite nice that it really then becomes a, almost a comprehensive approach where, you're trying to fix one component, but through how you are doing it, you're also being able to provide opportunities for the small businesses who also have really been greatly affected by the flooding as well. Yeah.
This is brilliant. Moving on to the SPEC of AIDS Foundation South Africa, that is the focus being STIs, being HIV and TB. What are some of the programs that are currently running that pertain to specifically that?
Okay, so we have a variety of programs. I'd say, just in terms of the focus, the biggest focus is around adolescent girls and young women. But so that would be one of the flagship programs, the adolescent, it used to be called Adolescent Girls and Young Women, but I think research has also indicated that we need to ensure that the young boys and men are part of all these initiatives that we are implementing. So now it's called Adolescent and Young People, because it's a combination of girls as well as boys, young men, and young women. We also have a program called SPSF, it's Small Project Support Fund. So again, in terms of implementing a program, we really try to use a comprehensive approach, we're able to reach as many people as we can. But also what we do know is that, AIDS Foundation would not be able to reach each and every person in each and every community. So there's a large component of our work that relies on working with community-based partners and community-based organizations so that they are also able to support their communities as well. And so how, we do this is that we identify through various local structures, that we work with to identify community-based organizations that have potential to run programs, but have potential to grow as well, because, we also want this organization to grow and be sustainable, but also continue to provide services in the different communities. So generally the modus operandi is that we would then select these organizations and we support them, whether it's through, seed funding, but also provide capacity assessment. Something that seems probably quite basic to you and me, that, if you have an organization, it needs to be registered, you need to have a board. This is how you do the reporting. Not everyone has access to that. So that component also is quite important to ensure that we are able to instill that, because we want them to be able to access other opportunities as well outside of what the AIDS Foundation is doing. So there is a lot of the work that we do around strengthening the community-based organizations that we work with, because that means also we are able to spread our reach in the different communities. So that's one of the big programs that we're working with. We also have a program where we work with sex workers. For instance, we're looking at decriminalization of sex work. We have a human rights and advocacy program. We have a program that we're also implementing called OVC, Orphan and Vulnerable Children. So also in terms of the focus, as I said, whilst I think the flagship program is around adolescents and young people, but generally, we focus across the spectrum in terms of the target population that we work with. Because, for instance, we have a program called Unfinished Business that we are implementing with Elma Philanthropies. So, for instance, that the focus is around from age 2 to 19 as well. So we're trying to, with the programs that we do, we're trying to ensure that we are able to reach as many people, as we can. But I think, how we're able to do that is by partnering, with these different organizations from the different communities, so that, we are able to reach as many people as we can. Yeah.
I love how it involves literally everyone. I love that. And I mean, in as much as there's pros to the foundation of the organization, what are some of the challenges that you have encountered? Because there are some people that are not open to being educated. For example, So how do you deal with such?
I think one of the things that we've done right, so we've learned, is you need to meet people where they are. So I find that the approach is very important when dealing with absolutely anyone, whether it's Noktula, whether it's Ntombi or someone else here. I do find, that goes a long way. So for instance, you would generally get resistance if you try and implement in the program without speaking to the community leadership or, the community structures. And so, one of the biggest lessons, and a thing that we try and do consistently, is that with whatever we're implementing, we ensure that the communities are part of the design of the program, because then we are not just imposing to say, oh, we have this idea, because remember, communities probably know best, what is good for them and what they need and what is the best way to go about it. So I really do find, the importance of, engaging with the local structures to say, this is what we have in mind, but how do we ensure that it's beneficial for the communities? How do we ensure that, we are able also, because not even just for the partner organization, but even in recruiting individuals as well, where it's community-based program, we try and ensure that we get people from those particular, communities, because they also understand the context quite better. So I do find that because, we don't just impose ourselves to say, we are the AIDS Foundation, we have these resources, therefore this is what we do, but it's more of a consultative process. It does, work, it has worked in our favor. I mean, yes, we've had challenges, but, I always say, you want to do, all the groundwork so that when you start with the implementation, it's not, it's not disrupted. So it's not to say by any means that in itself, is usually a smooth sailing process. People need to be able to buy in into your idea. And so I think that, that engagement, with the partners, that meeting them where, they are, and just being able to demonstrate, the benefit of what we are wanting to do, not for AFSA, but just, for the communities, for themselves as well. I do find that, it goes a long way in terms of creating a conducive environment of working with your partners. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how was the relationship with Global Fund formed?
So generally what happens is that with, so there's a call, a request for a proposal that goes out, and different partners apply. So it's a competitive process. I think this is the third round where we've been appointed by Global Fund. So again, we went through that process, and they needed to appoint 3 principal, they're called principal recipients, to implement the Global Fund program. So we have AIDS Foundation, who's implementing in largely KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, and in the Northwest, and we have Beyond Zero, and we have NACOSA, who are implementing in the other districts. And so, but it's through a competitive process. And once the modules have been allocated, then you start working in the different provinces that you've been allocated. And I think the relationship has really grown and become beneficial, for all of us. As I said, this is the third round. It's not an easy program. It's a massive program that, you need to, implement. And so I think the fact that, we've been appointed, for the third time also, I think, speaks to the experience of the team in being able to manage such, a large program, but also sub-granting a large number of small organizations to be able to reach as many people as we can. Yeah.
Wow. Lastly, how do we as the community get involved with AIDS Foundation? Can it be done through donations or volunteering if anyone has an interest?
Absolutely, Noktula, we are always looking for, volunteers, because we're an NGO, we rely on funding. We don't always have the resources, to do as much as we can. And so we are always open to, communities being part of the programs that we do. So for instance, we generally have opportunities open for internships through some of the partners that we work with, because again, we're trying to contribute to economic strengthening of our young people and the different communities that we support. So for instance, right now, I think some of our sub-recipients have indicated that they would benefit from additional resources, so getting additional people to be able to provide support, whether it's administrative support, whether it's program support, finance reports. And so this is where then we really try to partner with organizations such as Youth Health Africa, for instance, where they then provide interns so that we're able to locate them in the different communities. And I think what's great with that initiative is that, again, we try and identify young people from those particular communities. So for instance, if the program is based in KwaMashu, then we ensure that we get people from KwaMashu to be able to be part of that program as well. So we're always open to getting volunteers and donations as well. As I said, we're NGOs, the economy is just absolutely tough on, on everyone. The resources are limited, but the needs are growing, every day. And so, part of that is always trying to strike a balance as well. So we are always open to, whether it's cash donations, whether it's providing resources, for instance, such as, laptop, or people just lending their time in the different communities that we work with. We're always open to those opportunities. And in terms of our details, those are listed on our websites, www.aids.org.za. but also we are always in the office. So again, with the transitioning, out of COVID, a lot of us are now back in the office. So again, for those who want to call in the office to get more information in terms of how they can get involved, we are available to provide that information as well.
Okay, great. Ntombenhle, thank you so much. We appreciate your work. Keep up the great work. Thank you.